You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Funeral ceremonies for Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi and his entourage to begin today. Iran observes 5 days of mourning. India declares one-day state mourning on Tuesday. Israel strongly condemned ICC prosecutors' request to arrest its officials over Gaza conflict. US denounces ICC for outrageous implication of equivalence between Israel and Hamas. Phase 5 of India's general election records voter turnout of 60.09%. Baramulla in Jammu and Kashmir records highest voter turnout in 35 years. And batting powerhouses Kolkata Knight Riders and Sunrisers Hyderabad meet in Qualifier 1 in the Indian Premier League at Ahmedabad. Winner earns direct entry into the finals. Iran has declared 5 days of mourning in memory of President Ibrahim Raisi, Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian and other Iranian officials who were killed in a helicopter crash on Sunday. The mortal remains of President Raisi, Foreign Minister and the other officials and staff have been brought to Tabriz, the capital city of Iran's East Azerbaijan province, where a public procession was held. According to Iranian media, funeral ceremonies for President Raisi will be held from Tuesday to Thursday in the cities of Tabriz, Qom, Tehran and Birjan until his final burial at the Imam Reza Shrine in Mashhad. Many Iranians packed into mosques and squares on Monday to prepare for the officials who died on Sunday when the helicopter they were travelling in crashed in poor weather in mountains near the border with Azerbaijan. And Iran on Monday announced that it will hold presidential elections on June 28. According to Iran state media, the election calendar was approved at the meeting of the heads of the judiciary, government and parliament. Meanwhile, Vice President Mohammad Mokhber has been appointed to assume interim duties. Iran's cabinet has also appointed Deputy Foreign Minister Ali Bagheri Khani as acting Foreign Minister. The first funeral for Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and those who died with him is taking place later on Tuesday. The President and Foreign Minister as well as regional officials and pilots were killed in a helicopter crash in northwestern Iran on Sunday. DD India's Stuart Smith has more from neighbouring Iraq.
The commemoration for the life of the President will begin in Tabriz, the capital of East Azerbaijan province in northwestern Iran. His body and those travelling with President Raisi will then be taken to Tehran, the capital of Iran. The final resting place is being variously reported as Raisi's home city of Mashhad in northeastern Iran, which is also a significant religious hub for Shia Muslims, or the city of Qom in central Iran. Meanwhile, the country will participate in 5 days of mourning. Exams have been postponed and a period of 7 days without cultural programming has been imposed. The Chief of Staff of Iran's military has ordered an investigation into what caused the helicopter crash. Dense fog, freezing temperatures and wet weather have been offered as the primary reason by officials. At the same time, preparations for an election are underway. They must happen within the 50-day time limit mandated by the Constitution. The country's election headquarters affirmed on Monday that no details have yet been released about the timing of the process, but July 8th has been suggested to the Guardian Council, which will manage the voting, meaning candidates would have to declare their intention to run by June 8th. Experts expect the shortlist and final winner of the election race will be a continuity candidate and someone who, like their predecessor, will defer to the instructions and foreign policy of Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei. Stuart Smith in Baghdad, reporting for DD India.
And the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has issued condolences on Monday over the death of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi. United Nations spokesman Stephen Dujarric said the UN Secretary General is saddened by President Raisi's death.
The Secretary General is saddened by the death of Saeed Ibrahim Raisi, the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and Hossein Amir Abdollahian, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran, as well as their colleagues in the helicopter accident that took place yesterday on May 19th. The Secretary General expresses his sincere condolences to the families of the deceased, as well as to the government and people of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
And the United Nations Security Council paid tribute to the late Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and his delegation by observing a minute of silence during their Monday meeting. Mozambique's UN ambassador, who currently holds the rotating council presidency for the month of May, requested that the members stand and maintain a moment of silence in remembrance of the loss of life in a crash of Iran's president and his team. Pope Francis also offered his condolences to the Islamic Republic of Iran on Monday following the death of the President Ibrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash. In a written notice, Pope Francis sent condolences in a telegram addressed to Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and sent the assurance of spiritual closeness to the nation at this difficult time. And the government of India declared a one-day state mourning on Tuesday as a mark of respect to Iranian President Saeed Ibrahim Raisi and Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian, who died in a helicopter crash. During this period of mourning, the national flag will be flown at half-mast on all buildings where it is customarily displayed. There will be no official entertainment throughout the day. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Monday said that due to the interest and initiative of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian, India was able to finalize a long-term agreement on the crucial Chabahar port. India on May 13th signed a 10-year agreement to operate the Chabahar port on the Gulf of Oman, providing Indian goods a gateway to reach landlocked Afghanistan and Central Asia. The External Affairs Minister said the Chabahar port agreement is something bigger than a port. It is part of a connectivity change that is being looked at.
You know, we've been trying for almost 20 years now to have an agreement with Iran. We could have like a short-term agreement because there were a lot of problems on their side. But actually, in recent months, thanks to, in fact, the two people who unfortunately died yesterday in the helicopter crash, the President of Iran and the Foreign Minister of Iran, because of their interest and their initiative, we were actually able to finalize a long-term agreement. This is very important because if you look, you know, today, one of the big things in the world is how do you make connectivity corridors?
The chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court has announced he is seeking arrest warrants for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as well as several Hamas leaders over Gaza conflict. ICC prosecutor Karim Khan KC issued a statement on Monday morning proposing that arrest warrants are issued for PM Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, Mohammad al-Masri, Hamas military chief, and Ismail Haniyeh, Hamas political leader. It marks the first time in ICC history that a sitting head of state and a sitting defense minister of a country face arrest warrants. Outrageous. That's how US President Joe Biden describes an announcement by the International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor Karim Khan that he is seeking arrest warrants for Israeli and Hamas leaders. Biden is promising to stand with Israel, whose Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned Monday's application against him as a moral outrage of historic proportions, vowing to continue with what he insists is a just war against Hamas. DD India's Benji Hire reports.
Well, this is a rather forthright denouncement from the Biden administration, a quote, fundamental rejection of what officials here call the ICC's shameless push for arrest warrants for both Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant over war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza.
Let me be clear. We reject the ICC's application for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders. Whatever these warrants may imply, there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. And it's clear Israel wants to do all it can to ensure civilian protection. But let me be clear. Contrary to allegations against Israel made by the International Court of Justice, what's happening is not genocide. We reject that. We're going to always stand with Israel and the threats against its security.
You have to hear this to believe this. The International Criminal Court in The Hague is contemplating issuing arrest warrants against senior Israeli government and military officials as war criminals. This would be an outrage of historic proportions. International bodies like the ICC arose in the wake of the Holocaust committed against the Jewish people. They were set up to prevent such horrors, to prevent future genocides.
A panel of pre-trial judges will now determine whether the evidence supports the issuing of warrants against those two politicians, as well as against Hamas's leader, Yahya Sinwar, for his and others' involvement in the deadly October 7th attack. But the White House is claiming this move by the ICC could jeopardize ceasefire efforts, and it risks creating an equivalent between Israel, its Middle East ally, and Hamas, a group the US designates as terrorists. Washington also says the court has no jurisdiction over the matter. If warrants are granted, countries signed up to the ICC statute would be obliged to arrest the men if they set foot on their soil. That doesn't include Israel nor the United States, which don't conform to the statute.
I can also confirm today that I have reasonable grounds to believe, on the basis of evidence collected and examined by my office, that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant bear criminal responsibility for the following international crimes committed on the territory of the State of Palestine from at least the 8th of October 2023.
Israel, according to US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, was actually prepared to cooperate with the court's prosecutor, who is scheduled to visit Israel as early as next week to discuss the investigation. His staff were meant to land in Israel hours ago to coordinate that visit. Yet Israel was informed that they didn't board their flight just at the same time as their boss took to the airwaves to announce the charges, a timeline which the US State Department says undermines the legitimacy and the credibility of this investigation. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan just returned from Israel and the Palestinian West Bank for talks, urging a political solution to the war. And despite the stern reaction we've heard stateside, this ICC decision could increase the pressure on the US to draw back its support of Israel. Benji Haya in Washington, reporting for DD India.
All right, we'll slip it away. Short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Dramatic day in court as Donald Trump pleads not guilty to 34 felony charges. South Africa's top court bars former President Jacob Zuma from standing in upcoming general elections. And crash ship Dali that took down Baltimore bridge refloated out, towed from Channel.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. The defense in Donald Trump's hush money trial has made a motion for the case to be dismissed, saying there is no evidence of false business filings. Addressing reporters outside the court, Trump repeated claims that the case is a political witch hunt, saying it should be dropped by the judge. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts. DD India's Sally Patterson reports from New York.
It wasn't a good start for the defense in Trump's hush money trial after a dramatic turn of events here in New York City. Judge Juan Merchan ordered the jury and the media out of the courtroom after witness Robert Costello went up onto the stand, and the judge decided he didn't like his attitude. The judge said, "I'd like to discuss proper decorum in my courtroom. If you don't like my ruling, you don't give me side eye and you don't roll your eyes. Do you understand that?" Costello responded that he understood. Then the judge asked him, "Are you staring me down?" A furious Judge Juan Merchan then ordered everyone to clear the room. This came after Michael Cohen, a key witness in this case, was the last witness in the prosecution's side. They then rested their case, and it was over to the defense to have their turn. We've heard several weeks now of testimony from the prosecution's side leading up to Cohen, who is at the very center of this trial. The defense also got Cohen to admit to stealing from the Trump organization when he worked for Trump back in 2016 and 2017. This all ties into the defense's case that Cohen is not a trustworthy witness in their opinion, and he's not someone who should sway the jury one way or another. The prosecution is trying to prove that Donald Trump gave the go-ahead on that payment. He was behind it, and then he filed that payment as a legal expense, something the prosecution says was actually illegal. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 criminal counts. He said that this is a political witch hunt being orchestrated by his opponents to keep him out of the White House. Sally Patterson in New York, reporting for DD India.
And almost 2 months after it destroyed Baltimore's key bridge, the Dali cargo ship has been moved and docked. Recovery teams refloated a huge cargo vessel impeding shipping in the port of Baltimore early on Monday and pulled it free of the main channel. The removal of the Dali marked a significant step in the port of Baltimore's recovery from the boat's March 26 collision with one of the bridge's support pillars. The bridge's collapse killed 6 road workers and hindered traffic through the busiest port for car shipments in the U.S. President Joe Biden raised the team that freed the ship from its weeks-long imprisonment under the bridge's wreckage in a post on X. A Russian drafted United Nations Security Council resolution that called on all countries to prevent for all time the placement, threat or use of any weapons in outer space failed on Monday, with a 15-member body split over the move. The draft failed to get the minimum votes needed. 7 members voted in favor and 7 against, while 1 abstained. A veto can only be cast by the United States, Russia, China, Britain or France if a draft gets at least 9 votes. The Russian draft had language echoing a 2008 proposal by Moscow and Beijing for a treaty banning any weapons in outer space and threats or use of force against outer space objects, but the diplomatic effort did not find international support. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak arrived in Vienna late on Monday, where he was received by British Ambassador to Austria and the Councillor for Global Affairs at the Federal Chancellor's office. The Prime Minister's official visit will include a meeting with Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer on Tuesday, where the pair are set to discuss ways of tackling illegal immigration. South Africa's former President Jacob Zuma has been declared ineligible to contend for a parliamentary seat in the upcoming general elections. A ruling has been made by South Africa's Constitutional Court. The court's decision was based on Zuma's prior 15-month prison sentence for contempt of court. The country's constitution disqualifies anyone sentenced to 12 months or more from parliamentary candidacy. DD India's Daniel Kijo brings this report.
The Constitutional Court says Zuma is not eligible to run for the National Assembly, citing his conviction and sentence. The Electoral Commission had appealed to the court in what has been seen as a long-running dispute. Jacob Zuma resigned from his presidency in 2018 amid disputes with the ruling party, African National Congress. He has since been supporting a new party, Omukuto Wesizwe, named after the ANC's former armed wing. Political analysts say MK could pose a challenge to the ANC's long-standing dominance, particularly in Jacob Zuma's stronghold of KwaZulu-Natal. Zuma's jailing in 2021 had previously ignited violent riots in KwaZulu-Natal, resulting in over 300 deaths and widespread violence and looting. President Cyril Ramaphosa says any unrest related to this new ruling will be handled by security forces, expressing confidence in the nation's adherence to the rule of law. Daniel Kijo from Dar es Salaam reporting for DD India.
Now, Julian Assange will remain in the UK while he awaits an appeal against extradition to the United States. Judges in London have granted him leave to appeal, which means a new court hearing will need to be arranged. He's fighting extradition to the US to face charges related to leaking of classified information. DD India's Oli Barrett reports from London.
Julian Assange's legal team say they believe it will probably be several months before there is an appeal hearing taking place. There were a couple of assurances provided by the American authorities, which the UK High Court was not satisfied by, and that's why the leave to appeal has been granted by the High Court here in London. So Julian Assange's legal team will now go away and prepare their case for that appeal. It means that Julian Assange will stay in the United Kingdom in the intervening period. He will remain in custody for that period as well. The only thing that would change that would be were the Americans to drop their case. This all relates back to documentation leaked by Julian Assange and his WikiLeaks organisation back in 2010 and 2011, much of which related to conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Julian Assange's supporters insist the case against him is politically motivated. American authorities believe that serious legislation and laws have been broken by the leaking of that diplomatic material and all of that documentation, and that's why they've been pursuing the case against Julian Assange. He has for years now been trying to avoid extradition to the United States. Oli Barrett in London reporting for DD India.
Now, Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Ali Sabri has expressed commitment to address any security concerns in the Indian Ocean region and said that it will not allow anyone to harm India's security.
We have very clearly stated that we would like to work with all countries, but any reasonable concerns to the Indian security will be taken into note, and we will not allow anyone to harm that. As a responsible neighbour and a civilizational partner, we will not undertake anything which would harm the legitimate security concerns of the India.
In an interview to Indian news agency, the Sri Lankan Foreign Minister said his country is looking forward to join the BRICS grouping. The Sri Lanka Foreign Minister also stated that the island nation would reach out first to India whenever it formally applies to join the BRICS grouping.
We will look forward for BRICS also. I think Cabinet had appointed a subcommittee to look into that and recommend to us. BRICS is a good body, particularly since India is a part of it. So as and when we decide as Cabinet to apply, the first country we would be talking to is India and seek India's support for us to reach to the BRICS.
Now, China has imposed sanctions on 3 US companies from importing and exporting activities related to China. China's Ministry of Commerce announced sanctions against Boeing and 2 other defense companies on Monday for arms sales to Taiwan. China's Ministry of Commerce placed Boeing's Defense, Space and Security Unit, General Atomics Aeronautical Systems and General Dynamics Land Systems, forbidding their further investment in China, in addition to travel bans on senior management for the companies. The move is the latest in a series of sanctions Beijing has announced in recent years against defense companies for weapons sales to Taiwan. Now, weather updates from across the globe now. A hailstorm left streets in the western Polish city of Gniezno flooded as storms passed over the country. West and southeast of Poland witnessed heavy precipitation. Poland's weather agency described the storm as violent and they would continue till Tuesday. Vehicles grappled to pass through the flooded street as hailstones swelled the roads. And heavy rains caused flooding in parts of Netherlands that swamped streets and buildings. The authorities have issued yellow weather warnings for the majority of the country. The weather official predicts of heavy rainfall and thunderstorms, with some areas potentially receiving up to 40 millimeters of rain and hail. And population of endangered howler monkeys has dropped constantly from the southeastern tropical forest from Mexico amid a nationwide drought and heat waves that have sent temperatures soaring across much of the country. In the state of Tabasco, where temperatures are forecast this week to surpass 45 degrees Celsius, local media have reported up to 85 deaths of the endangered species.
Hal is a good description, very loud, and I guess the maturity.
Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Australia and New Zealand announced they will send government planes to New Caledonia on Tuesday to evacuate nationals from the French territory, which has experienced a week of deadly riots. France's High Commission in New Caledonia said on Tuesday the airport remains closed for commercial flights and it will deploy the military to protect public buildings. The Spanish Coast Guard Service rescued on Monday over 100 migrants from a wooden boat in the seas of the Gran Canaria island. The group of 106 rescued migrants included 26 women and 13 minors. The number of migrants arriving in Spain by boat have significantly increased in the years. This year, more than 20,000 migrants have crossed the Atlantic. The international airport in Haiti's capital reopened for commercial flights on Monday, nearly 3 months after gang violence forced it to close, limiting aid. So far, just a single airline, Sunrise Airways, has announced a resumption of flights between Port-au-Prince and Miami, Florida. King Charles and Queen Camilla visited the Chelsea Flower Show at the Royal Hospital, Chelsea in London. During their tour, the royal couple explored several gardens. The Chelsea Flower Show showcases a wide variety of horticultural displays and innovative garden designs. The show is held annually in the grounds of the Royal Hospital. And a 3-day-long Indo-Bangla Music Festival is underway in Sherpur, Bangladesh, to celebrate the 250th birth anniversary of the mystic saint and humanist bard Fakir Lalan Shah. The Lalan Biswa Sangha organized the event on Monday with the High Commission of India in Bangladesh and the Ministry of Cultural Affairs of Bangladesh. Fakir Lalan Shah was a prominent Bengali philosopher, bald saint, mystic song composer, social reformer and thinker from the Indian subcontinent. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Campaigning on in full swing for remaining 6th and 7th phases of the parliamentary polls. India's External Affairs Minister reaffirms Quad's commitment to a secure Indo-Pacific. The government takes a big decision to tackle the heavy rush of devotees in Uttarakhand Char Dham Yatra.
Decides in the world's largest election.
We help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India.
From down south, Tamil Nadu.
Discover the colors of democracy.
Gateway to northeast of India.
Coastal state of Kerala. Watch Poll Pulse on DT India.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour. From sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we've done so far. Funeral ceremonies for Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi and his entourage to begin today. Iran observes 5 days of mourning. India declares one-day state mourning on Tuesday. Israel strongly condemns ICC prosecutors' request to arrest its officials over Gaza conflict. US denounces ICC for outrageous implication of equivalence between Israel and Hamas. Phase 5 of India's general election records voter turnout of 60.09%. Baramulla and Jammu and Kashmir records highest voter turnout in the last 35 years. And batting powerhouses Kolkata Knight Riders and Sunrisers Hyderabad meet in Qualifier 1 in Indian Premier League at Ahmedabad. Winner earns direct entry into the final. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said on Monday that the Quad Alliance is working towards realizing its shared vision of a secure and prosperous Indo-Pacific and delivering in the field of clean energy, disaster relief and health security. In a post on social media platform X, Dr. S. Jaishankar said, and I quote him, "Whether it's delivering clean energy, STEM talent, disaster relief, health security or resilient communication infrastructure, the Quad is working towards realizing its shared vision of a secure and prosperous Indo-Pacific." He also mentioned that the next Quad summit would continue to build on their achievements. Now let's get to the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. Polling in the fifth phase of India's general election on Monday recorded an approximate voter turnout of 60.09%. 49 seats across 6 states and 2 union territories went for polls in the fifth phase. The state of West Bengal saw the highest voter turnout with 74.65%. 67.59% people have voted in Odisha, with 63.07% in Jharkhand. Around 69.62% people voted in Ladakh, which was very encouraging as it went to polls first time after becoming a union territory. Baramulla parliamentary constituency in Jammu and Kashmir recorded 57.4% polling, which is the highest since 1984, both in polling percentage and absolute number terms. Now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi today hailed the people of Baramulla parliamentary constituency as it recorded its highest ever voter turnout and said such active participation is a great trend. PM Modi in a social media post said, and I quote him, "Compliments to my sisters and brothers of Baramulla for their unbreakable commitment to democratic values. Such active participation is a great trend." Talking about campaigning, it is in full swing for remaining 6th and 7th phases of parliamentary polls. The election is entering its final phases and the intensity of campaigning has reached a fever pitch as leaders make their final push to secure the votes. Prime Minister Modi will hold public meetings in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar on Tuesday. Bharatiya Janata Party President JP Nadda will hold a roadshow in Haryana in support of BJP candidate Mohan Lal Badoli. Meanwhile, the prominent faces of BJP including Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh and Yogi Adityanath will hold rallies and roadshows in Odisha, UP, Haryana and Delhi. Meanwhile, opposition parties are also not leaving any stone unturned to get across to the voters. Congress President and senior leader Mallikarjun Kharge will hold a public meeting in Haryana's Yamunanagar and Pataudi. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi and Samajwadi Party leader Dimple Yadav will hold joint road show in Uttar Pradesh's Prayagraj. Meanwhile, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi will hold a public rally in Jharkhand. Bahujan Samaj Party chief Mayawati will hold a rally in Uttar Pradesh's Jaunpur city. And Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and Congress candidate from Northeast Delhi Kanhaiya Kumar will hold a joint road show in Delhi's Bhajanpura. Let's go across to DD India correspondent Akshay Dongre. He's joining us live from Delhi. Akshay, with three major parties in contention in Delhi, the battle for Lok Sabha seats in the capital promised to be fiercely contested. Bharatiya Janata Party and also India Bloc. Tell us how intense the campaign is from these parties.
Well, Abhishek, if you look at the campaigning strategies of all the political parties that are in the poll free in the national capital, we can see one side there is the Bharatiya Janata Party, which has been sweeping the entire union territory clean in 2014 as well as in 2019 elections, because all 7 out of 7 parliamentary constituencies were won by the Bharatiya Janata Party in 2019 as well as in 2014 elections. And this was quite different from the legislative election result, where the Bharatiya Janata Party struggled to compete against the local party, that is the Aam Aadmi Party in the constituencies of Delhi. But when it comes to the 2024 Lok Sabha election, what we can see and what we can expect right now is a very different fight from the 2019 general elections, because while in 2019 Congress, Aam Aadmi Party and BJP were all competing against each other, this time according to the alliance that has been formed by the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress Party in the India alliance, they will be contesting seats together, which can in fact make this fight a bit tougher for the Bharatiya Janata Party, which has been hoping to sweep Delhi once again, all the 7 seats. It not only has ramifications here in Delhi and in New Delhi areas, but also in the neighbouring states of Haryana, in neighbouring states of Uttarakhand, where the Aam Aadmi Party has been trying to expand its base. When it comes to the state of Haryana as well, the BJP gained all 10 out of 10 seats in the last elections, and that is what the BJP has been hoping for. Mostly when it comes to the northern states, this has been Bharatiya Janata Party's stronghold in the last 2 constituency elections when it comes to the parliamentary constituencies. And this time around, what we can expect is a tougher fight because of the alliances that have been formed to compete against the Bharatiya Janata Party, which had become a formidable force in the last elections by sweeping both of these states and union territory in the Lok Sabha elections.
Right, Akshay, also like you said, BJP had swept all 7 seats in Delhi, if you talk about 2019, and now you're saying it's a different competition altogether because of the alliances. Tell us, what are the voters saying, especially in Delhi, national capital? What are the demands, challenges, and what do they want from the government?
Well, Abhishek, as I was mentioning, that the result of the parliamentary constituency elections is quite different from the legislative elections. In the legislative elections, the last 2 terms, the Aam Aadmi Party has been forming government, whereas the Bharatiya Janata Party has been in the opposition. Congress, in fact, has been wiped off the politics of Delhi, because when it comes to the party that ruled Delhi for 15 years after the emergence of the Aam Aadmi Party, in fact, these 2 parties had become major rivals in the legislative elections. However, when it comes to the Lok Sabha elections, there was no competition of the BJP, and perhaps that is the reason why Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress Party felt it necessary to form an alliance, despite being some of the strongest opponents in Delhi when it comes to the politics. So this is the reason why when you talk about Delhi's elections, both Lok Sabha elections and legislative elections, the issues are quite different. This being the central government operating from Delhi, the issues of people of Delhi are quite different when it comes to Lok Sabha elections. It's not anymore about the civic issues. It is not about the local issues. It is majorly about the national issues. It is about national security. It is about how the central government is governing from New Delhi. It is about how highways are being built across the country. It is about development and economy as well, along with employment. So the parties that will be able to convince the voter that they are going to provide, they are rather going to work on national issues. They are going to talk about the national development, both economical as well as when it comes to strategic affairs, when it comes to development all round of the country. These are going to be certain issues that makes it to the poll issues, and people of Delhi usually vote on these issues instead of going for the local issues. And that is why all the other parties, be it the Congress Party or the Aam Aadmi Party, have found it hard earlier to compete against the BJP when it comes to the national issues, and talking about the local issues does not actually help the regional parties as well. So that is one concern that will be there with the regional parties.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. The 7th edition of India-France joint military exercise Shakti is underway at Umroi in a fully developed and modern foreign training node in Meghalaya. Indian contingent comprising 90 personnel is being represented primarily by a battalion of Rajput Regiment, besides personnel from other arms and services. Observers from the Indian Navy and the Indian Air Force will also form part of the exercise. The French contingent comprising 90 personnel will be represented mainly by personnel from the 13th Foreign Legion Half Brigade. Aim of exercise Shakti is to enhance joint military capability of both sides to undertake multi-domain operations in a sub-conventional scenario under Chapter 7 of the United Nations mandate. The joint exercise will focus on operations in the semi-urban and mountainous terrain. Objectives to be achieved from the joint training are high degrees of physical fitness, rehearsing and refining drills for the operations at tactical level, and sharing of best practices. Exercise Shakti is a biennial training event conducted alternatively in India and France. Last edition was conducted in France in November 2021. The opening ceremony of the joint exercise was attended by Thierry Matau, Ambassador of France to India, and Major General Prasanna Sudhakar Joshi, General Officer commanding 51 sub-area. The last edition was conducted in France in November 2021, like we said earlier. Death anniversary of former Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi is being observed today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tribute to the former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi on his 33rd death anniversary today. The Prime Minister posted on X, and I quote, "On his death anniversary, my tributes to our former Prime Minister Shri Rajiv Gandhi ji." Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, Congress Parliamentary Party Chairperson Sonia Gandhi and Party MP Rahul Gandhi also paid homage to Rajiv Gandhi on his 33rd death anniversary at Veer Bhumi in Delhi on Tuesday morning. Rajiv Gandhi became India's youngest Prime Minister at the age of 40 when he assumed office in October 1984. All right, time now for another short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. South Korea pretend to host a summit on artificial intelligence in Seoul. In sports, Rafael Nadal returns to Roland Garros to practice amid doubts over fitness and form. An International Tea Day being observed to recognize the cultural importance and long history of the tea worldwide.
We are in Cannes, the famous city on the French Riviera. The 77th edition of the Cannes Film Festival is here. So soak into 12 days of world cinema and the hottest fashion trends. The famous 24 steps leading to the Palais des Festivals, where most of the cinema at this festival is screened, are beckoning. Join me, Munmun Bhattacharya, as I take you through all the buzz around the festival and on India's participation in it, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Update now from Cannes Film Festival. On day 8 of the film festival on Tuesday, 5 films will screen in the competition section. Director Chidanan Nayak's short film Sunflowers were the first ones to know is competing against 17 other films in the Larsen F section of the festival today. The makers of the film are students of the Film and Television Institute of India in Pune city of Indian state of Maharashtra. All right, let's go across straight to DD India's Munmun Bhattacharya. She is joining us live from Cannes. Munmun, tell us major attractions yesterday and what do we expect today at the festival, and also major films to be screened today.
Yes, I had met Abhishek Santosh Sivan yesterday and I spoke to him. He is going to be awarded with the Pia Anginu Award on the 24th of this month. On 23rd, he's taking a master class with Cannes delegates. So that is about yesterday, and today we expect Aditi Rao Hydari, Indian actor, to be present at the Bharat Pavilion. Now, to give you the overall picture, there are 5 films that are in the main competition section that are screening today. Remember, as far as India is concerned, its film All We Imagine Is Light is going to be screened only on the 23rd of May, but not today. 5 films from around the world are screening in the competition section. There is The Apprentice, and there is The Shrouds, there is Paranthropy, there is Anora, and there is Marcelo Mio. So these 5 films are screening today in the main competition section. To tell you a little about these movies, there is The Apprentice by Iranian-Danish filmmaker Ali Abbasi. This is around the early business career of Donald Trump. Then there is a film by David Cronenberg. He's a horror movie director, and this is basically around a widower who builds a machine to connect with the dead. And having said that, this is of course The Shrouds, and there is The Paranthropy by Italian director Paolo Sorrentino. And this particular movie is based on a woman who is very beautiful but wants to be known for something other than her looks. Then there is Anora, which is around a young sex worker in Brooklyn who gets married to the son of a Russian oligarch. The parents of the man come to New York trying to annul the marriage and thus threatening a fairy tale marriage. Besides that, there's Marcelo Mio. This is around an actress who one day decides to be like her father and tries to live like him, breathe like him, do everything like him, and does a very convincing impersonation. This is by French director Christopher Honoré. So these are the 5 films. As far as India is concerned, in the last NF section, where most of the student films are screened, India's Sunflowers are the first ones to know is going to be screened. It is by director Chidanand Nayak and his team from FTII Pune. This is a film in Kannada. This is around a folk tale from Karnataka. And there were many challenges that were encountered by the team. I spoke to Suraj Thakur, who is the director of photography, who said that since the time period of this folk tale was not really clear, so they scouted around 50 to 60 villages, and they zeroed in on one, but they faced challenges in terms of no network, poor roads, generators were not available all the time, so they used light in the form of moonlight and fire for lighting. So we are looking forward to this. Remember, it was in 2020 that Ashmita, an FTIS student, had won in the last NF section for her short film Cat Dog. So India is hopeful because this also is a competition category, though not the main competition category. The screening happens today, 2:30 p.m. local time at the Bunel Theatre of the Cannes Film Festival.
Right, Munmun, also, I mean, like you said, Indian cinemas have been creating a buzz. A total of 7 Indian films, if I'm not wrong, are screening at Cannes. Also, tell us, how is India doing at Cannes Film Market that is also on alongside the festival?
Abhishek, if we talk of the numbers overall of the Cannes Film Market, there are more than 1,200 market screenings that are happening, and there are around 360 plus exhibitors here. 100 countries are participating. There are 13,000 delegates. The Cannes Film Market started around the 15th of May and will be concluding on the 22nd of May. A lot of business happens here. As far as India is concerned, there are around 300 delegates that are come from around 100 media companies or film companies in the Cannes Film Market, and a lot is happening really in terms of film business, particularly in the last 2 years, because in 2022 you would remember that India was the country of honor. We had a similar status in 2007 as well, when India was celebrating 60 years of its independence, when India was the country of focus, but we could not build really on that momentum. However, a lot has changed in the last 2 years, particularly because of the incentive scheme that have been offered by the government of India to foreign filmmakers to film in India or to enter into co-productions in India. The incentive value has gone up around 12 times, Abhishek. It was $300,000 2 years back, and today it is around $3.6 million. So that has played a huge role, and which is why maximum co-productions between India and other countries have happened in the past 2 years. Also, one needs to note here that India is a very strong country in terms of post-production facilities. We have a lot of strengths there. In the AVGC sector particularly, we have world-class facilities, we have world-class talent in the animation, visual effects and gaming center. So all that has played a role, and India has become a force to reckon with, particularly in the last 2 years in the Cannes film market. We are looking forward to another big year for India in the market as well, not just the festival.
All right, Munmun,
Abhishek.
thank you for the time being, but we'll keep taking updates from you. South Korea and Britain are co-hosting a global AI summit in Seoul to discuss the creation of regulations to ensure that AI is developed, deployed and used in ways that are safe and sustainable. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and South Korean President Suk Yeol will oversee a virtual summit on Tuesday. The AI Seoul summit comes about 6 months after the inaugural AI Safety Summit, which was hosted by Britain at Bletchley Park in November 2023. DD India's Chris Gilbert reports from Tokyo.
For anyone who has dabbled in AI, has used AI or has even heard it, they are very aware of the significance of it, very likely. Two leaders are going to be overseeing this, and it comes only 6 months after the last summit. And the growth of the technology from since then, only a short 6 months ago, has left massive blind spots in the regulatory framework that controls the use of artificial intelligence and even the power of artificial intelligence. And there are gross concerns, as one new report backed by 30 countries, about society completely losing control of this technology. On top of that, there are concerns about the potential large-scale impacts on the market, AI-enabled hacking, biological attacks, and other potential risks of general use, such as, for example, image recognition or facial recognition, where people can effectively upload a photo of anybody on the planet and use AI to find every other single photo of that person that exists on the internet, and it doesn't take a lot of imagination to imagine the privacy concerns there. So it is an absolutely gargantuan task ahead of the people at the summit, the leaders at this summit, to avoid, as Yoon Suk Yeol and Rishi Sunak say, a race to the bottom.
The South Korean technology giant Samsung appoints Young Hyun-jun as the company's new chief for its semiconductor unit. He will lead the newly created Future Business Planning Unit aimed at identifying and developing new business opportunities. This move is part of Samsung's strategy to enhance its leadership in core technologies and drive future growth. Now, Asian stocks drifted lower while the dollar held firm on Tuesday as investors awaited minutes of the Federal Reserve's latest policy meeting to gauge the timing and extent of possible interest rate cuts this year. Japan's tech-heavy Nikkei edged higher, though, whereas the gold inched back towards Monday's all-time peak. Crude oil prices eased on worries of U.S. interest rates staying high for longer as Fed officials maintain a cautious view on a recent easing of inflation. Cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin climbed to new 6-week highs. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with Indian Premier League. The playoff of the 17th season of Indian Premier League will begin on Tuesday. Table toppers Kolkata Knight Riders will face Sunrisers Hyderabad in the first qualifier at Ahmedabad. It brings together two of the most belligerent batting sides this season, particularly in the power play. With the strength of their opening stance being central to their success, KKR might look slightly weaker in that department. Phil Salt's departure has broken his partnership with Sunil Narine at the top of the order. The Kolkata side were the first side to qualify for the playoffs of the tournament, and they will aim to register yet another win to place themselves in the finals of this season. On the other hand, SRH became the third team to qualify for the playoffs. The Pat Cummins-led side registered a 4-wicket victory in the final league match against Punjab Kings. This win propelled their position to second place in the standings, enabling them to compete in the qualifiers against the table toppers KKR. From cricket to tennis, Rafael Nadal returned to Roland Garros on Monday to practice and try and figure out whether to compete at the French Open. He has won 14 times. The 37-year-old Spaniard showed up with his coach Carlos Moya. The tournament begins on Sunday and it remains uncertain if Nadal will enter. He is still regaining his match readiness after missing nearly all of 2023 with a hip injury that required surgery and much of this season because of problems with a hip muscle and an abdominal muscle. His recent loss in the Italian Open second round left Nadal unsure about whether he would consider himself ready for the French Open. Now, International Tea Day is observed every year on May 21st to raise awareness of the long history and deep cultural and economic significance of tea around the world. DD India's Subina Roy reports how the effect of climate change has affected the tea gardens of Assam.
Tea is the world's most consumed drink after water. It is believed that tea originated in Northeast India, North Myanmar and Southwest China. Tea production and processing constitutes main source of livelihoods for millions of families in developing countries. India is one of the largest producers in the world. A number of renowned teas such as Assam and Darjeeling tea grow exclusively in India.
If you trace back, it is over a century, more than 1.5 century old. But you see, the importance I can justify. The first thing when you get up in the morning is a cup of tea. Your day doesn't start with a cup of tea. And tea from Assam, we have got inherent quality here, which the liquor, the flavor which we have here, the body, the strength, is not available in other parts of the country. You may have flavor in Darjeeling, but when it comes to an overall quality, Assam is known for its tea quality.
In an effort to support and address the declining per capita consumption in traditional importing countries, the UN General Assembly decided to designate 21st May as International Tea Day. This year, International Tea Day highlights women and their role in the tea sector while working to make its production sustainable from field to cup, ensuring its benefits for people, cultures and the environment continues for generations.
In the last 3-4...
Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the... We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News.